Hi, I'm Ashy, and today I'm going to show you how to paint this scene, which is based off a picture that I took in Northern Ireland. So this view is from the little island that you reach via the Carrick-a-Rede. I'm positive I'm pronouncing that wrong, but Carrick-a-Rede rope bridge, like suspension bridge, which, no offense, Northern Ireland, not as cool as I thought it was going to be, but the views, completely amazing, made it worth it for sure. So this is a view looking back toward the mainland from that island. And I just really loved this view and the greens in it and the cliffs. So I wanted to give it a shot painting it. And this tutorial is a real-time tutorial. So there's no sped up parts. You watch from start to finish. So if you like that type of content, please leave me feedback in the comments about that you liked it or what could be different, because I'm trying this out and it would really help to just have some feedback. So I'd appreciate that. But let's go ahead and dive in to this tutorial. I'm gonna paint another Irish kind of cliffs ocean scene that from a picture reference that I took while I was in Ireland. And I'm gonna start by sketching out just in watercolor. I'm not using pencil to sketch here. And I'm gonna try to make it like a little bit of a vignette. So I'm gonna leave some white space around the edges, which I'm usually not very good at actually doing. I kind of forget when I'm painting and go all over the edges, but we'll see. Okay, so I'm gonna just sketch in like the cliffs here with my watercolor. I'm just using green here. And just getting in the basic shape of the top of the cliffs and coming across the page. And it's gonna come all the way off to this edge, okay? And then the front hill is gonna come and meet up with that back hill and come down to the front right corner, basically, not quite all the way. And then we're gonna have the bottom of the cliffs in the back, which I'm gonna do in yellow ochre because I want it to be, I don't wanna have the green there. It doesn't really matter, it's so light, it's gonna wash out anyway and it's gonna be covered, but just cause. And I'm gonna get in this bottom edge here, water it down and draw it out. Okay. Then I'm going to get in correspondence with some of where I have cut down in the top. It's going to come down and cut out into the ocean. Okay, and then continue. And then this one again, going to come down and kind of cut out. And there's going to be some rocks out in the ocean there. And then it comes back to here. And this one's going to cut out again, be in front. Okay, and then that comes back this direction toward the edge here. Okay. And then we have another little bit of a hill here that's coming into this hill. So get that in. Okay. And then I'm gonna have some little like posts coming here. So there's like a little path coming down the hill down to maybe there's like a little cove or a beach here. And so I'm gonna get in my front post first. So just kind of sketch the shape, which is just a column. So straight on either side. And then I'm not gonna worry about the top edge right now. And then we're gonna have another post kind of behind it here, and then the post, we're gonna see the top of it, so it's gonna be kind of curved down. Okay, this one will kind of curve here. Again, I'm fine with it being green. It's gonna be covered anyway, but if you wanted to sketch this in brown, that'd be fine. And then maybe we have another one here that we can see coming off this side. Down to there. Okay, and then there's just going to be a few coming down the side. So I'll want to make sure that I don't paint over those in green. Okay. Maybe I'll put one more in here. So that's all just going to be like the brown posts there. Okay, so that's the sketch. It's pretty simple, nothing crazy. But if you look, I have like a zigzag pattern, right? So I have diagonals coming to a vanishing point here. So that's kind of pulling your eye in. This curve of the posts, it's subtle, but it's gonna curve that, pull the eye in. Here we'll have a curve, like the path coming down this way. Okay, and that's gonna also do the same. And so it just pulls everything into the middle of the picture here. And then these diagonals are gonna come down to the center. Okay, so compositionally, I really liked the photograph, and this is really truly just based on the photograph. I exaggerated this curve on the posts a little bit. You can't really see them in the photograph, but I wanted to curve it around to pull it into the picture. Okay, so now I'm gonna start by wetting up the background. I'm just using a large flat wash. This is a 2-inch flat wash brush. And I'm just wetting up the whole painting, the whole paper, generously so that it stays wet for a long time. And I'm using 100% cotton paper. This is Academy, and this is rough. So it's got some nice texture to it that I can pick up when I'm doing some of the cliff and rock textures and even some of the grasses. But it's not as rough as the professional brand or the professional line of this brand. So it's Baohong Academy. The regular Baohong is a little bit rougher. I don't have this large of a pad in the regular Baohong right now, so I'm using this one, but I really like the rough in the other one too. And this is a 10 by 15 inch pad. Okay, now I'm going to take a 22 round, so really large round brush, and I'm going to get my sky in. So getting some cerulean blue for the sky. I'm going to warm it up with just a little bit or a lot bit of alizarin crimson. I have been soaking my paints for a while, so that went a little crazier than I had planned on the crimson, but that's okay. I think I used permanent rose, not crimson. Whoops, that's okay. Here's some crimson. No wonder it was so pink. Okay. Add a little bit of gray in there. Okay, I'm just gonna add a little bit of pink because I screwed up and added pink, so I'm gonna make it look like it's on purpose and not just have one random streak of pink there. Okay, now I'm gonna start adding in the color on the background hills. So I'm gonna add some more water, make sure I'm keeping it wet all the way down. And I'm gonna start adding some grays and greens to the background. So my gray is ultramarine blue with some burnt sienna. And I'm biasing it a little bit more blue for the background and nice and light. So not too much pigment there. And I'm just gonna start by tapping in some of that color. And I'm kind of going along where the ridges are between these like portions of cliff. Okay. And then I'm gonna add some grayed out green. So I just mixed a little bit of green in with that same mixture. And I'm just tapping that in to these background hills. As I come forward, I'm gonna make it a little bit warmer. So a little bit more yellow in the green, less gray. Still want the bottom to be more grayed out because that's going to be more in shadow. So tap that along the bottom and then add some greens in the top, more vivid as I come forward. And my grays can start getting some warmth into them as I come forward. Also, still a little bit more blue, but I can start having more variety as I come forward. Maybe here I start getting in some more warm colors into the edge of the cliff. Okay, some greens along the top where there'd be more grass. Just getting variety, so each time I'm kind of mixing more. So I didn't mix up a whole bunch of this color before because I want to get variation in the color. Okay, so by just touching into those wells, I get a different amount each time. And then add my green in the top. A little bit of green coming down into the cliff on this one. Okay, green into the top here. A little bit of yellow to warm it up. Maybe a little bit of green coming down into the side. And then the rock faces coming down here. and I'm working pretty fast because I want stuff to stay wet. I want to be able to blend it all together. I need to start on the water too, and I don't want to get out of this wet stage, so I'm gonna add a little bit of water. And make sure that that's bleeding out still. Okay. See, I forgot the vignette style. I wasn't gonna go all the way to the edge, and then I did. It's just, I don't know why. I can never do it. Okay, water. I'm gonna get my sky colors mimicked in there, so a little bit of cerulean. To be a little bit lighter toward the back. A little bit of my permanent rose. Don't want to go crazy with it, just a tad. God, it's such a powerful color. This kind of takes over there. Okay. There we go. Let's blend that out, add some water, make sure it's soft. And then as I come forward, I'm going to start adding in some aquas and some Prussian blue just to get some variety in the ocean colors, and just kind of tapping it in along the edges to get some bleeds and blends, and then sweeping it out into the rest of the ocean. Okay. Again, I'm gonna tap along some of these edges just to get some shadows in and some variety. Okay, and then I'm gonna take some clean water and drop that in to some areas to create some cauliflowers, and push some of the pigment away where I can make some white space where the waves would be crashing against some of the cliffs. Okay, I can take a smaller brush and tap in some clean water as well, and that'll create some splashy look into different areas. Okay, now for the front here, I'm just gonna get a base wash of my greens. So I want to use a brighter green for this hill, so I'm going to use some sap green, some olive green, and some yellow to really get a warm bright green for this hill. Okay, I'm just getting a wash of that in. Really just spreading it around. I'm not going crazy about any details or anything, and I'm just getting the color in. Now here I'm going to go around those posts. I don't want to go over them. Okay, get a little bit darker down in the front, so adding a little bit of hooker's green, more sap green, olive in the middle and just scribbling that in. Okay. Okay, now I'm going to take a cut up card. This was like a gift card. And I'm just going to scratch the paper a little bit just to create, it actually damages the paper, but where it scratches it, it creates darker lines because the pigment's going to settle into those areas. So I'm just kind of going crazy on this area and scratching a bunch of places. And I'm going super fast because I don't want to think about it. I just want to scratch. Okay, so as that dries, it'll create some texture, and then I'm going to go over it more and create more texture later. So I don't need to worry about it too much. Okay, one other area that I need to add some green, and I'm using a size 16 round brush to this for this one, and I'm just going to add some warm green, so mostly olive green, to the top of this hill here. And then I'm going to add some grays here for some rocky textures. Okay, so it's going to be a little bit of a rocky area. Coming down. A little bit of green, but warm some more yellow ochre in there to be this little path area. Okay, so now here I'm going to go around those posts, and it's starting to dry, so it's not bleeding in too much. But if it bleeds in a little bit, that's okay, because I'm going to address those posts a little bit. Okay, into the grassy area here, I'm going to take a stiffer brush. This is a flat wash. It's from Temu. I don't even know what brand it is. But I'm going to take some yellow and splatter it in to this area, because this is going to have yellow flowers on it. Okay, and then I'm going to take some clean water as well and splatter some of that in. Splatter a little bit more clean water along the cliffs. Okay, now I'm gonna let that dry and then come back and work on the next layer. Okay, the first layer is dry, and I want to kind of point out, because I was splattering when parts of it were kind of pretty much dry and parts of it were more wet, and then I added a bunch of water. I created some like pretty significant cauliflower in here, but I'm okay with that. These are all supposed to be textured anyway, so it's not a problem for me to have that there. But just be aware that when you're doing that, that is something that will likely happen. Okay, so now I'm gonna go ahead and add in some more definition. So like back here, I've lost these hills pretty much entirely. So I'm going to add in just a little bit of gray. And define those hills again. Okay. A little bit more blue in. Back in. There we go. And I'm going to lift away some of the green that bled into here where I want it to be water, not grass or plant material. So lift that out. So I'm just adding clean water, scrubbing a little bit and lifting. And again, that's like the risk, I guess, of doing everything wet on wet is it might bleed more than you plan. And that's okay. So I just lifted it out. I'm going to add just a little bit of blue into that area to bring that ocean back. Okay. Not too much though, because I want it to be also kind of highlighted bright, which it'll show up more as I start adding my darker greens to this front hill. Okay, that's good. Okay, now I'm gonna start adding in, soften that back edge just a little bit up into the sky. Okay. Now I'm going to start adding in some texture on these cliffs in the back. So as I come forward, I want them to be more and more textured, but I still want some texture on these more. These are really distant, these are kind of middle, and then these are more going to be my most detailed. Okay. So as I come forward, I'm going to add more and more texture. Just mixing up some grays here, my ultramarine and burnt sienna. Fairly light wash. And just going to do a little bit of dry brushing up to get some streakiness. A little bit out into the ocean. Add some slight darks right along the bottom. And then just a little bit more, just kind of dotting in some blues here for some darks, and then blending them out, but really just like dotting to blend them out, and then dragging it around. Okay, I'm dragging it up into the greens, rinse off my brush, and then blend it out. Okay, so you can see that adds just a little bit of definition here. These have like no definition. Maybe I'll add just a subtle indication of some separation along the bottom and there. Okay, that's it for those back ones. Just a few brush strokes. Okay, and then I'm going to come forward and do the same thing with this one. So a little bit of it out into the water. Get a little bit darker blue along the bottom. Okay. And just dry brush up from that. And get some gray and kind of add a little bit behind this edge so that maybe there's like a little bit of a highlight right on the edge there. And then blend that out into the background hill. Or the background cliffs. I'm gonna add some horizontal marks. The darkest in between here on the bottom. There's a little cave there or something. Going back in. There we go. So I'm just kind of taking some of that wash and dry brushing horizontally so that it looks kind of like a stripy rocky cliff. Okay, add just a little bit of darkness along the edge to blend it in, but still keep a little bit of highlight. And then up into the grassy areas just a little. Okay. A little bit of darkness into this area. Again, same idea. Continue that same pattern as I come forward, but I want to leave a little bit of white here, or lighter, because I want it to indicate kind of the waves crashing. Here's just some like rocks coming out. Into the ocean there. And this is where I'm starting to add more detail as I'm coming forward. More darkness can be a lot more vivid here. Okay. Just kind of pulling it away from the rocks there. Adding in some warmer colors. Dot in some darks for some shadows along the edge where the rocks might be jutting out a little bit. Just kind of scribbling here, literally scribbling my brush around, okay? Get some some darker colors in, and drag the point of my brush to get some linear details here, to get that like stripy look, dry brushing to get the texture, okay? Then I'm going to add a little bit more green in on top of these rocks. I'm going to kind of crisp up the top of this cliff a little bit. Kind of am gonna mimic that bleeding that was happening before by just taking a dry brush and pulling up some of the color. Okay. Let's get a little bit more color in there. Right along the edge, especially. Pick out some areas that I'm making jaggedy so that I'm negative painting this cliff face by doing that. Okay. This might be coming around off the edge just a little bit. Okay. Dry it off, blend some of those grasses up into the top of the hill. And then I'm going to get just a lighter wash and add a little bit of a shadow along the top of this cliff, and then where it's coming down the side should be a little bit darker than the top. Okay, so I'm going to add just some subtle shadows there. Okay, now pull that back. Okay, a little bit more darkness into the rocks here, and some more water. And I'm just dotting it toward the bottom. Okay, and that just adds shadow and texture. Okay, I'm gonna do the same thing for this hill here. So mix up my browns and grays. Get some right along the bottom. I'm scribbling around. So that I leave some white space. Okay, then start getting in the variety of colors by just going into these different wells. And it can be nice and thick paint here and lots of texture. Okay. I want some of these to look more vertical here. Just a little bit more water. Okay. And then these are going to be more horizontal, picking in some of the textures along the edge, leaving a nice highlight though. It's a nice hard edge between the two parts of the cliff. Okay, nice dark mix. Get in a little bit of a shadow here, coming up. And then pull paint out from it to soften that edge and create some dark shadows coming away from that area as well. And I'm kind of scooping upward a little bit. Okay. And then take a little bit of warmer color and come down here. Okay. Now I'm going to take some greens. And bring some greens in here. Down into the rocks. A little bit of shadow green in here. So I added some red to it to mute it down and make it a shadow color. And drop that in along that edge, and then come back to my brighter color for the top of this cliff. There. Okay. A little bit of that shadow green down in here. Okay. Now take a little bit more of my cliff colors and incorporate this green into it a little bit more. So just kind of blending that edge together, adding a little more dry brushing into the cliff. I think I want to come back and do some more horizontal strokes in here. And then dab some to get some more random rocky textures. Just kind of dab them in. Okay, that's pretty good on the cliffs. I really like those. So now I'm gonna come in and work on this front hill and kind of this part here. I'm gonna take a smaller brush and get in one more wash of green over this part of the hill. Just to brighten it up a little bit. Take some of my blues, grays, and get in a little bit more rockiness to the hill. just adding in a bit of that green right along the edge. And blending it out up into the hill. Okay. And I'm just gonna add some water at the bottom to get that to blend out onto the path a little bit. So that it's not a real hard edge there. Lift up a little bit of a highlight on the end here. Okay, now for this front hill, I'm going to take my very large brush again, get lots of paint, and add in another wash of greens over the hill. Getting in some variety of all of my greens that are in my palette. So sap green, hooker's green, and olive green. I'm keeping the olive more at the top. I'm even gonna add a little bit of yellow. And keeping those warmer ones up higher on the hill and the cooler ones down lower. Okay. Right up to the post on this side. Now I'm going to take my 2-inch flat wash brush. It's pretty much dry, and I'm going to pull some of those greens up off of the hill. And you can see that's creating a grassy texture, right? So super easy way to create that grassy texture. And then I'm gonna take some clean water again and splatter it in again to create some backgrounds. I'm gonna clean up my green here or my yellow, because it has a ton of green in it, and I want yellow flowers, not green flowers. So I'm just picking up all that extra water that had the green. So just soaking it up with my brush, moving it to my mixing wells that have green, which this is supposed to be yellow, but you know, I'll clean it later. And pull out all of that green color. Okay, so now that's cleaned up. Now I can take the yellow, which apparently I need to refill my yellow, and I can splatter that in. And this is fairly thick paint, so it's gonna go right into that hill. And then I can loosen some up and splatter some thinner paint. Okay, I can take a little bit of it and dot in some flowers off of the hill. Okay. Dot in some flowers into the hill. It's gonna bleed because it's all wet, but that's okay, because I want it to be kind of loose, abstract. Now I'm going to come back into the water and work on adding a little bit of additional darkness. So I'm going to take those 3 watercolors, which was cerulean, Prussian, and aqua green, and use those to kind of add a little bit of darkness to some areas in the water. I'm just going to kind of vary which ones I'm using and how much, but it's all those 3 colors. So underneath some of the rocks, I'm adding depth and darkness. Then I'm going to dry brush away from that to get some texture and to make it blend in with the rest of the ocean. Okay. Up here, I want it to be darker as it's coming in. You can see it more, so I'm just adding a little bit more darkness there. And then as that dries, I'll add some dry brushing on top of it. Okay, kind of rinsing out my brush, drying it off, and then adding thinner washes. Less pigmented toward the back here, but still just a little bit of a hint of that blue to bring the blue back into the distance there. Okay. A little bit more cerulean back here because it's not as vibrant of a blue. And then doing my aquas and my Prussian blues more at the top or the front. Okay. I'm going to go in and add my posts here. So I'm going to take a blue-gray and add it to the shadowed side of my post, which is the left side. Okay. Now I'm going to take my more browny gray, but very light wash, and add it kind of into this whole area, because I'll then further define those posts in a minute. So let me get them warmed up here. Get in those posts. Okay, so this is going to be that area. Okay. Now I'm going to lift out some of that color because it's a little bit too dark, but I wanted the warmth from that burnt sienna. Okay, there we go. And then once that dries, I'll go in and finish those posts. Okay, I'm going to add in some more yellow to my hill. Dry brushing a little bit of olive green over the top of this hill, just to give it a little bit more texture. I'm going to take that flat wash brush again, and as this is continuing to dry, I'm just going to get in some thicker paint and get in some more of the grasses. So just keep that texture going. And keep adding more yellow to it as well, just so that I don't lose those yellows as it dries. Now to come back to these posts, I need to add in the shadow side of each of them. So starting with the front one, I'm just gonna put in the wash of blue. Okay. Bring that around, curve to show the top of the post. Okay. And I'm just gonna bring that off the page since I failed at the vignette style. Okay, and then the other side, I'm going to add some warmth. Let that blend together. Lift up a highlight right along the edge. Okay. Now I'm going to add some warmth behind it where another post is. Okay. Now for these ones, I'm gonna get just a little bit of gray on the left side, and I'm just kind of honestly randomly placing this gray in. I'm not being too precise about where the posts are. It doesn't really matter. Just getting some lines is going to make it look like a line of posts going down. Okay. Okay, now I'm going to take some clean water and add it to the top of those posts. Scrub just a little bit and then lift away. And that's going to give a little bit of a highlight on the top of the posts. Okay. So like even here where I painted the background over where this post is, I can lift it away because I'm not using really staining colors. And then I can go back in and add a tiny bit more darkness. A little bit more burnt sienna to warm it up. Especially in this front one. And just a little tiny curve of gray to set off the tops. Okay. Add a little bit of gray over all of them, just to make them look a little bit more weathered. Okay, lift away some of it. That creates a little bit more texture. Okay. Now I can come back to this huge brush, dry it out, get a little bit of my greens, and put some grasses back in over them. Okay. Great. Now I'm going to go in and add some whitewash. So this is obviously not watercolor, but that's okay. I use traditional gouache, not acrylic gouache, so I can reactivate it. This was dried in my palette. I'm going to take a little bit of that and splatter it along the ocean. To get some spray. Okay, so where the water is crashing into the cliffs, and then I can use it to go over some of these rocky areas where it would be crashing over it. Okay, and I already painted in the dark shadows under where it would be crashing. And some of these areas, like here, I had kept the white of the paper, so I don't need to do too much, but I can add some dots around it to make it a little bit more incorporated. Maybe it's crashing more in some areas, a little bit higher. Okay. And then in the background, I don't want it to be quite as vivid, quite as bright white, but I can add a little bit as well over some of those areas. Okay, a little bit of dry brushing with the white. To get some highlights on the water. And then I'm going to add just some little highlights onto the cliffs as well, right on the edge of some of them. Where some light might be hitting and reflecting off of those rocks. And then I can dry brush some white into the cliffs as well, just to add a little bit more definition. Especially like this one, it's pretty dark. So dry brush a little bit of the white in to lighten it up a little. Another little layer on some of the dots. Where I want it to be a little bit more bright white. Because gouache it's opaque, but it's not like acrylic where it is super opaque, if that makes sense. So it fades out a little bit as it dries. So if you want it to be really white, doing a couple layers is helpful. Okay. Now, just a little bit more splatter. Come back into my yellow here. And do a little bit more splatter of yellow into my hill. So yellow is a more opaque, this is lemon yellow deep, and it's a more opaque pigment. So I can splatter over the green. think I'm gonna add just a little bit of yellow ochre as well, just to get some variety. Okay, and there is another Irish cliff kind of seascape landscape. I am obsessed with the Irish cliffs, so I paint a lot of them. So here is that completed painting once again, and there are just certain areas that I absolutely love about this painting. I mean, I love the composition in general with the path leading down to the ocean. So it just draws the eye in to the painting really well, and I really like how these wooden fence posts turned out. I also love some of the blooms that are happening up here in the cliffs, and just I was really pleased with how this painting came out, and I can't wait to frame it and get it hung on my wall. Thank you so much for watching. If you do paint this, also if you're here, way to go. You made it through a very long video, but go ahead and show me your version if you tried to paint this. So you can tag me on Instagram at paintingwithashi, and that is how you can share your work with me. I'd love to see your versions and just celebrate with you and kind of build an art community there where we can all share our work and enjoy each other's paintings. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have an awesome day.